My name is David Kenney, and my rank is commander. In one cruise, we ended up going to the Baltics. Before the Baltic War, I had seen Dubrovnik and Split before all the bombing and stuff like that. So I had not realized it then, of course, but I got a chance to see the old city the way it was for a long time, for centuries, before the Baltic War just blew out everything and destroyed a lot of the stuff that we had seen. Interesting side note on that trip too is we had gone into, because it was a communist country at the time, we were asked to wear uniforms. We were told we couldn't go in civilian clothes because the black market was pretty significant in these countries. We also were restricted to what we could take on to the beach. Cigarettes and jeans and all that stuff were all very, very hot items in communist countries at the time. So we couldn't take a lot of that stuff with us. So we had gone on the beach in Dubrovnik. And Dubrovnik, the city itself, has a very large mountain that overlooks the old city. And so part of what we did was we took a tour, and we were one of the last ones to take the gondola up to the top of the mountain. Now this was in November, so it was cold, it was breezy, it was overcast, but the view up there was spectacular because you could see the America out in the harbor, and you could see all of the old city. It was beautiful. So when it came time to go down, which was about 5:30 at night, we were the last ones to get on the gondola and go back down. We had overcrowded the gondola. You know, they give you a weight limit, well, we were well beyond that, because they wanted to give everybody off. And so we just followed their instructions. We all got on, and as we're going down the mountain, we got about halfway down, and the thing stops. And so, we don't have no idea. The operator that's on there, he picks up the phone and starts talking to the guy down below. And of course, they're speaking a language that we don't understand. And all we know is we're in the middle of this thing, probably about 120 feet off the ground, and we're swinging back and forth in a very heavy breeze right now. And there were some kids on board and some family members, and they were getting a little nervous. But we ended up swinging on that cable for about 45 minutes before they finally got us down. We weren't sure if we were going to be up there all night or not, but all the guy kept telling us was that they were working on it and they were trying to fix it. And so about 45 minutes later, they did finally fix it, and we were able to get back down and get off the mountain and just chalk that up as a weird experience. But it made a few people, particularly the ones that didn't like heights, they were getting pretty white-faced up there for a while. But that's just one of the many places that I saw. One of the best ports I had was Palma de Mallorca, and I think if you talk to any sailor that's been in the Med, they will tell you the same thing. Palma is one of the best liberty ports you could possibly go to. The beaches were fantastic down there. Palma is one of those places where it's where a lot of the Europeans go to vacation in the summertime. It would be kind of like our Florida, and so Palma has got a lot of different European cultures all there. The Swedish, Finnish, and all of that. They all occupy the island. The beaches are beautiful, lots of hotels and stuff like that. And we just had a great time in that every time we pulled in there. And so that was one of the best ports that we had. The other Spanish ports like Brindisi, Torremolinos, Malaga, those were all great places too. And I can honestly say that every place that we went, we were treated pretty well by the locals. I don't think there was really, I don't recall any major animosity towards us except for the Greeks. But everybody else, they really appreciated us being there. And I think for a lot of the Europeans, in our case in particular, they didn't get to see large American carriers. That was just unusual for them to see that. And so for them, a lot of times it was an opportunity to go out and take a look. When we were in Cannes, France, we anchored off there, and it was the first time we had been in that area. It was kind of nice because it was a beautiful sunny day. It was very pleasant, and we had enough days of downtime that we had a lot of free time. We'd go up on deck and work on our tan or whatever. And I can remember getting off a watch one day and going out on the catwalk, and we would see a lot of these yachts would be coming out to the ship and circling it because they had never seen a carrier. So we were like a tourist attraction. And these yachts, when you see them, the bridge on these yachts would actually be equal in height to our flight deck. That's how big these boats were. And so you look at these things and you know that they were worth a lot of money. But it's typical of the area we're in. So we're watching all these yachts go around, and you know, we're waving at them as they're going by. And so I was standing on the catwalk with a friend of mine talking, and we hear a bunch of guys down on the hanging deck, and they're making cat calls and whistling and everything else. Now, what the heck is going on now? So we stood and we waited. We wanted to see what the heck they were looking at. And so we were standing there. We looked over the side, and there was a very small catamaran that was coming underneath the flight deck, and it had gone right alongside the hangar bay. And it was a very small pontoon catamaran coming along, and there were two women on it, and they were stark naked. And they were teasing the hell out of the guys. They were up there and they were dancing and doing all this stuff on the sail, and they were teasing the heck out of the guys. So that's where all the cat call and the whistling was those two, and they were loving every minute of it. They thought it was hysterical. So of course we're all out in the catwalk waving and everything else. And the funny part was, somebody evidently had spread the word to the rest of the crew up on the flight deck, and there was a helicopter on the angle deck at the time. That's right. It was the rotors were up and it was getting ready to launch. And so when that happens, you have to clear the flight deck. You get out of the way. And so they were getting ready to launch this helo, and of course we're all looking at this, and we can hear all the guys catcalling. Somehow somebody spread the word to the crew up on the flight deck, and I swear to God, all I saw was a sea of guys. There had to have been about 30 or 40 guys. They all ran over to the port side, and the air boss is yelling and screaming, "Hey, we're trying to launch a helo!" And these guys were all running over they were all looking down the catwalk, and they're waving down at the water like this, and they're trying to get their attention, and the air boss is yelling and screaming. They had to delay launching the helos until all those guys all left the catwalk and got out of the way. And it was just absolutely hysterical. And I was joking with my buddy. I said, if we tell the rest of the crew, I said, the ship is just going to go this way, because they all want to go over and take a look. But it was just one of the more humorous things that I experienced on the ship. But I had a great time going to all the different ports. It was a wonderful experience. I did 3 med cruises on the ship. The last med cruise, I'll be honest, I did want to get off. I had done 2 med cruises on America, and I really wanted to go back to the West Coast. And in those days, we had a phenomenon, a process called cross-decking. And cross-decking was allowed. If you could find somebody on another ship that had the same skill and experience you had, you could swap. Change, and all you had to do was cut a set of words, and he would come there and you'd go there. So I was trying to find somebody on the West Coast that could swap with me, and I did find a guy that was on the USS Constellation up there, and he said, yeah, he wanted to come to the East Coast. So we were talking back and forth, and he was committed to doing it, I was committed to doing it, and so I went down to personnel, told him I wanted to get my orders ready to go. He said, yeah, okay, fine. And we were just getting really, really close to getting it done. And just before they cut my orders, he sent me a message, and he said, he said, I think I'm going to stay here for a while. I've changed my mind. And I was so mad. I'm like, you got to be kidding, dude. We went through all this process. My orders are in process right now. He goes, no, he says, I think I'm going to stay. And he never really told me why he wanted to stay, but I suspect he probably met somebody. And that's probably why he wanted to stay out there. So that was my last chance to get back out on the West Coast. So as it turned out, I ended up staying on America for the last cruise, and that was okay. I mean, the good part of it was I had already had enough experience in the Med. I knew all the good ports were, and what I used to do in the last cruise is basically for the new guys, when they came on board and they hadn't been anywhere yet, I'd say, I tell you what, I'll take your watch for you, and you can go on the beach, and I'll take your watch for you, and we'd charge money for it. So they would give me a little bit of money, I'd take their watch for them, I'd just save up all the money. And then when we got to the good ports like Palma, I'd have plenty of money, I'd get X amount of days liberty, and I'd go off, and that's where I'd spend my time. So you learn those things through experience, and I was no different than anybody else. All the experienced guys did that. And it really worked out really well, because my last med cruise was probably one of the best. I got to spend more time in some of the ports that I really, really enjoyed, and I had a great time. It was really good. But we were always ever present about the situation with the Russians. and the fact that they were shadowing us around a lot. The ship got buzzed a few times by Russian aircraft, so we were always aware that there was going to be a situation there. We didn't learn out until later, though, that it was closer than we thought. There were a number of incidents that had since been declassified that were put us very precariously on the precipice of a nuclear war, if you will, certainly a nuclear launch, because of certain things that were going on outside our purview. You know, we were clueless to that, of course. We just knew our jobs, we knew what we had to do, and we knew we were prepared for it, regardless of what the situation was. And that's the beauty about being out there and being trained and being ready to go. And you know, I can honestly say that today's sailors are probably as prepared, if not more so, than we were in the day. So it's really worked out very well for me, and I have no regrets.